Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this week's edition of SafeDefend Live. I'm Phil Nichols. I'm joined today by the founder of SafeDefend, Jeff Green.
Good
Jeffrey, how
morning.
are you, my friend?
Fantastic. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. We're getting rain here in beautiful Oklahoma, which we need a bunch of it.
So you'll have
Um,
red mud roads now instead of red dirt
that's
roads.
right, red mud roads. We hope. We hope. I'd love to get stuck. We haven't had the ability to get stuck in a long time here on any dirt roads, so that'd be good. So, hey, I know you've got a lot coming up. You got a big conference in Las Vegas next week. You guys are getting ready to head out to. You shared some really cool stuff this morning with us. Well, I'd like to see you kind of get your thoughts on um, some of just the different things you're doing to help educate and inform people around the country on ways to keep their employees, their students safer and get them home at the end of the day.
Absolutely. And a couple things that just hit the horizon. We just completed our first Texas school install. We're getting ready to do the training here in a couple of weeks. They are incredibly excited. Posting on Facebook, and the community response is overwhelmingly positive, and it's it's very exciting to be able to go in and help schools out and help them in a way that's meaningful. At the same time, really seeing how their staff and their community respond to feeling safer, and being safer in schools, and that's what we bring, and that's always, I always love seeing those messages, and reading through the Facebook comments and all the people that just really appreciate the efforts to improve that the safety in that school district, and that's always very exciting. So yeah, we're really excited about that. Right outside of Dallas in Denton, Texas. First of many in Texas is the goal. So and then Oklahoma, where you've got your roots planted there. A lot of exciting things are happening in the Oklahoma area. You got a legislature and governor that has really valued school safety this year, and I think 150 million over the next 3 years is going to schools and districts in Oklahoma to be able to help do the things that they need to do to improve their environments and make sure their kids are safe. And we've started working with some schools and districts down in the Oklahoma area, and the response is incredibly positive. And we're going to keep focusing on helping Oklahoma schools get where they need to be as well. And the impact from the legislature and talking to a few legislators, this is a high priority for them, is keeping their kids safe, and making sure that they're doing it the right way. We see Alyssa's law coming up in many states, and man, that is foundationally and emotionally, that is a fantastic effort. The problem is it's just not best practice. And so, we really are spending some time educating legislators on, hey, there's the emotional impact of school safety, but you want to do it the right way. You want to make sure your efforts are going to be meaningful and make a difference down the road. And so we're helping, and there's some solid things about Alyssa's law, but there's some things that just aren't best practice. So we're helping educate and making sure that legislators and school districts understand what, when it comes down to it, what really is going to make a difference.
Yeah, I'm being in Oklahoma, and I'm very proud of what they've done this past legislative session with the funding, making the funding available to help districts go out and do the things necessary to make everybody as safe as possible. I think one of the things that's really core, of course, SafeDefend's been working with schools throughout Oklahoma for over a decade, but this makes it different. I think this is one of those key things. I always use the example there. You have the thermostat, which controls the temperature, right? And I think when you say to the tune of $150 million, hey thermostat, we're serious about fixing this problem and addressing this, there'll be opportunities to really have meaningful solutions put inside these schools that are real world. I think too many
Right.
times we get, and I think this is kind of what you're getting at, but too many times in the past, and it's not for lack of trying, but um, there's been things done inside schools that, to be quite frank, are all after the situation's over. You know, the big
Right.
one that we always talk about are cameras. You
Right.
know, and cameras are a great tool for after the fact. But you know, we're real excited about being able to help people understand the importance of left of bang. You know, the importance of catching those scenarios before they happen, before they result in violence. You know, that's something that's big time. And of course, beyond the great SafeDefend physical system, is now SafeDefend Academy with Dr. Greg
Right.
Vecchi and all the great work he's doing and the training programs that are now available to people to get in front of their staff so that they can be better prepared left the bang to identify those things and take proactive steps to prevention, which is really where you're going to save lives.
Absolutely. Well, and with Dr. Vecchi on board, we were working towards this model, but he really has helped us hone in and really identify the fact that there is a safety formula for schools. There truly is an approach that will make a difference, and it comes down to four pillars. And this is where Dr. Vecchi, especially on the left side of an incident, has really helped us hone in on this message and discover what really will make a difference. But it comes down to one of the first pillar is prevention, right? So getting in there, being able to use threat intervention programs, which Dr. Vecchi has developed, which will allow students to end up on the radar, being able to intervene early if there are red flags or situations that can occur, doing vulnerability assessments, finding ways to understand where your weaknesses and vulnerabilities are, and that's all on the prevention side, right? And that's the first pillar. That's the first part of the formula. And then you have the preparation, which is going to be training, having training at your school, getting your staff to understand best practices and how to respond and how to manage that crisis time. We talk frequently, Covenant Elementary in Nashville, 11 minutes before law enforcement responded. Now, they were fantastic once they got there, but it was 11 minutes until they were able to get there and respond, and 156 rounds and 6 lives lost. And that's not unusual, and that's not a failure of the desire of law enforcement to want to be there. They just can't get there in time.
I
And
mean, from the time it kicked off to where they put the murder down
16 minutes.
was 16 minutes.
Yes.
So I mean, that's an incredible response from notification to end of situation.
Right.
You know, I mean, you think about it. I have a hard time getting to my house. I live in a town of roughly 11,000 people, and to drive from my office to my house, which you've been to Guthrie, it's not that big of a place.
Right.
Takes me about 8 minutes.
Right.
You know, and we don't have bad traffic.
Right.
So I mean, there's just all these scenarios. So it was an amazing response by law enforcement. It's just the reality of the situation, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
the vast majority of damage is done in the first 3 minutes.
Absolutely. Well, that's where that
and
yeah, and that's where that second part of the formula comes into play, which is preparing, right? So having that training, having and meaningful training, and law enforcement a lot of times will come and do training at schools, and these guys are going to be the guys and men and women that are the ones that you're going to want to be having show up and be responding. But at the same time, a lot of their training focuses on how they're going to respond and what they need you to do when they get there. And having training that really is focused on crisis management for that 11 minutes when they're not there. What can you do? What do you need to do? What do you need to be able to do to keep yourselves and your students alive until law enforcement's able to get there and take care of the situation? That also includes the drills. That includes putting in place notification systems, doing all of these layers proactively ahead of any type of event. And keep in mind, every one of these things that you're doing is all insurance, right? It's, you hope you never need it, but you're damn glad it's there if you ever do.
No doubt.
That's the insurance part of this whole piece. And then it comes down to the internal response and the external response. So everything you've done preparation wise, your internal response, or how your teachers respond, how your students respond, how you get everyone in the safest place possible, how you make sure that you're mitigating any type of harm that could even happen, how you're ensuring that person coming in or that's in your building is unable to do damage. And so, that internal response, we're looking at Covenant Elementary in the middle of Nashville for 11 minutes. That is your response. You have to stay alive during that time in order to and manage that crisis time. And then the fourth part of it, which is the external response, is how do we shorten that time frame, get law enforcement on site as quickly as possible. There's still going to be a gap. There's still going to be a time delay. And how do we get them where they need to be as quickly as possible with the information they need? You see a lot of systems out there now that have mapping, and they show a map of the school with a red dot. Well, I'm telling you, even as a principal, if I'm under stress trying to figure out where that red dot is in my building, I'm not even going to get there in time. Not to mention somebody who's not familiar with that building. That becomes fog of war, right? That ends up creating chaos and reducing the effectiveness of law enforcement. But getting them where they need to be with simple information, but effective information. And Findlay Schools in Ohio has done a fantastic job of blending not only the SafeDefend response, but then marking their building in a way that allows law enforcement, they know, hey, this is second floor science lab, room 212, northeast wing, go in door D. All of that comes from our alert that gives them that information. Well, they've got the school marked very effectively. So when people come in, they're able to get to those places incredibly quickly. And
Right.
those are the things that make a difference. Those four factors will absolutely save lives.
Yeah, every time, and I think that's one of the things that you'll be talking about next week in Vegas as you're out meeting so many people. The administrators, folks within the school systems from around the country. With all the great clients all over the country with SafeDefend currently, I know that, and it's not just schools. We've got them in courtrooms, private businesses, all over in all kinds of different facilities. I think people are starting to set up and say, okay, what we've been trying doesn't work. We've got to approach this from a different way. And I think that's why you're seeing funding and you're seeing some of these different things that are occurring, because they know that this is a real problem that we have to address. Jeff, I think to kind of in closing, why don't you just kind of talk a little bit about the conference next week and who are you going to be meeting with and what are you going to be doing?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's the National School Safety Conference. We haven't been to this one for a couple of years because we hit so many other conferences throughout. But heading back to this one, we're actually getting a chance to speak at this one, which is Dr. Vecchi's going to be up there, and we're taking the board president actually from Findlay, Ohio, who's the fire battalion chief. He's going to do part of the presentation as well, which we're really excited about. When customers, not only appreciate the system in their schools, but also have that emergency response understanding of why SafeDefend is so important in that safety model. It's really exciting to hear him talk about what it's done for his community and what it's done for the school district itself. And we'll have a couple of days of being in a booth and dragging people in and getting them to understand what really is going to make a difference and all that fun stuff, and attending some sessions. And it's Vegas, so it'll be about 115 degrees.
I just wish it was in a more entertaining city than Vegas. You guys won't have anything to do at all.
I know. We'll have to, maybe hit an IHOP for or something.
Maybe we could get it. Maybe we can get one of those future conferences here in Guthrie, a real hub of entertainment.
Right. Right. You got some pretty decent places that have some lunch and hang out at down there. So I'm sure we'll figure out a way to navigate the downtime, but it's going to be pretty packed for a full week. And you always walk out of those extremely tired, but also reinvigorated at the same time, because the message you're getting out and the way it's received is
Well, Jeff, we want you
energizing.
guys to have fun out there. I know it's an important week. There's a lot of people to educate and talk to and help get them the information they need. And I know the team will do a great job out there, but we thank you very much for what you're doing every day and look forward to talking to you down the road.
Sounds good. Thank you. Have a great weekend.
All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you for joining us for this week's edition of Safe Defend Live.
Take care.